All right, YouTube is up. Let's get Facebook is live. All right, so let's get the mutskies out of here. Oh, geez, Karma. Come on. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. Come on. Not the kitty either. My entourage. Oh, so goofy. Let me. I'm always cutting off my head on YouTube, so I was just checking in. All right. How can I be early? All those distractions, and I'm somehow early. I don't know how that worked. So I don't really have a plan, right? And on YouTube anyway, who's with? Oh, hey Cheryl, you're over on Facebook today. All right. All right. So I titled this session over on YouTube as "Find Your Flow." So I'm a little off this morning, so this may be kind of whatever pops up in my head, right? Or it may get you started, and it may end up being whatever pops into your head. So the idea in your practice, and obviously in a classroom setting, you can do this a little bit, but it might be a little weird to get carried away. Um, Knowing what your body needs from you, and I've said this once before. One of the first yoga classes I ever taken, at the end, not quite shavasana yet, but toward the end, the instructor, um, basically said to do what your body needs you to do, right? And so at that moment, to do whatever just felt good, twisting or whatever, right? And I remember thinking, what? Well, I don't know what I'm doing, so I don't. What do you mean? So that that is so much more the goal than knowing a pose, right? You don't have to know a single yoga pose if you know your body to do what feels good next, right? And I mean, obviously, if you're a longtime yoga practitioner, that's very easy, right? I hope that's easy at this point, right? To be on your mat in a position and just to feel very organically where that should go next. Right? So some of us are very tuned in, um, and that's a snap, right? But then there are some days where I don't know, you're just so happy to be on your mat and having someone tell you what to do. It's just not there. So even when you are in a class listening to an instructor, especially when you're in a class listening to an instructor, if the next thing they say, okay, now we're going to whatever, straighten the leg or whatever, if your body is kind of going, no, I think I need a twist, take it. And again, in a classroom environment, you can't do that the whole time. That would be a little weird. Um, but here you can, right? You are on your mat in your home or wherever you happen to be, but you wouldn't be distracting anyone else. So if everything I say next, your body's kind of going, no, I need something else, and do it, right? Anytime. So the practicality of that is today is that if I have to cut this short, you can still continue. So my idea is at minimum, I think I'm okay for a little minute, to get you warm, maybe to do some sun salutes, and then move further into the practice as it sort of pops up for me, right? That might mean I have to go. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have your head in a place where you can just continue on. And maybe you do three more poses and hit Shavasana, right? That's okay. Right? You're on your mat, you're in your body, you're relying on what you need, right? You're getting what you need. So let's see. Let's see what happens today. Maybe it's just a normal class like we always do, and maybe it's 10 minutes of me telling you where to go next, and then the next 30, 40, 50 minutes is all organically what pops up for you. So let's head over to the mats, and we're going to start seated. You guys probably were already on your mats, but so sitting with the heels aligned here, making sure that you feel upright. So regardless of where you are, thinking about your foundation, thinking about the alignment of your spine, your shoulders, right, all of this, your hips. So finding this comfortable seat, go ahead and close your eyes. And we always take a moment before every class to just sort of see where we are, how the body feels. If you had to, if you had to pinpoint where you needed to work most, see if you can find that. Where in your body needs the stretch, the twist, the work? And it might be just a general area. It might really be a sore muscle. Just see if you can really identify that. Maybe it's your mind, and just coming to this kind of quiet inward place is really everything you needed. Finding your breath, expanding into that breath. And as you do, see if you can release the tension or relax the muscle. Maybe it's those muscles between your ribs that really needed it. And just by expanding your breath, it feels so much better. So staying inwardly focused and connected to this big, beautiful breath. And if this is what you need right now, you don't have to add anything. Listening to your body as we begin to flow, extending the arms out to the sides, and with an inhale, stretching up, exhaling as you come back down. Again. Once more. Back to the top. Exhaling the right hand forward and the left hand back. So just a little bit of a baby twist here. Coming back up to the top again, inhale. And then switch, take the left hand forward and the right hand back. Let's take a few more flows like that, just gentle. And maybe the twist develops as you go once or twice. And maybe just this tiny little baby movement with breath. Let's go once more on each side. Coming back to the middle and exhaling the arms. So we'll come around onto hands and knees. Finding your tabletop position here. Wrists under shoulders, spread those fingers nice and wide. Make sure your hands are happy, your belly is engaged here. Let's flow with the breath here, inhaling the belly toward the floor. And then exhaling and rounding the spine to the ceiling. Easy in and out like that. If there's an area or two through your spine that you really want to work into, maybe wiggle around into it a little bit more. Linger. Take one more flow. Finding our center here. Engaging the belly again to protect that lower back. Let's go ahead and extend the left leg straight back. We want the heel in line with the hip, and we want to press through that heel, making the leg work. Toes rotating toward the floor, foot flexed. From there, right arm extending alongside the ear. Reach away from the body in these opposite directions. Breathe. Notice if you wobble a little bit. Releasing that side. We're going to do the exact same thing, second side. So right leg. When you're ready, left arm. Feeling all the little pieces of this. So if you're wobbling all over the place or your arm feels like it weighs 700 pounds, then you don't really have to be told to think about that, right? But especially as these things get a little easier, notice the subtleties that are going on. Releasing that side, we'll come back. Let's go ahead and extend that left leg and right arm again. We're going to add in movement with this one. So on an exhale, bring your elbow and knee together underneath, give a squeeze. Inhale, stretch away. And let's go one more time. Stretching up and then releasing back down. Second side, left leg and right arm. Take your time getting there, and when you're ready, add in the flow. Stretch it out long and release it back down. So one last time here, go ahead and extend the right leg and left arm. Is that where we started? I can't remember. Anyway, take the arm over to the left, bring the leg around to the right, press through your heel and stretch through your fingertips. Release the left hand to the floor, take the toes over to the side here, and we're going to come up on the knee. So heel in line with the hip, toes pointing forward. Take that left arm up and over. So try not to lean on the leg too much. You can use it to sort of stabilize the body. One more breath. And then come on back to the top, releasing the hands to the floor. Lifting the leg, hold it out there. And then take it back and down. All right, so let's go second side, same idea here, left leg and right arm. Extending out to the sides, make it work. Release the hand, take the toes over to the floor, and then come up on the knee here. So adjust, things don't always land like you want them to. Stretching the right arm up, take it over. Big full breaths. With an inhale, bring yourself back up to the top again. Taking the hands to the floor, lift that foot out there and hold it. Take the leg back into all fours again. And then gently from there, go ahead and set yourself back into a child's pose. Allow yourself to release here, whether you like your knees a little bit more open, your hips a little less forward or back. Your hands maybe down back by your heels. Stretching the arms out long. And imagine lifting your armpits up. So the shoulders pulled together on the back a little bit here. The arms engage into the floor. Let's go ahead and lift into down dog. Just wiggle and stretch a little bit. Just bringing yourself to kind of sink into your down dog here. Let's go ahead and lift the right leg. And we'll step that foot through to the hands, coming into a lunge. Go ahead and drop the back knee. Adjust your right foot up so that you've got knee ankle alignment here, if it didn't land where you wanted it to. And then roll around into your hips a little bit. Lift them up. Come to a center, pulling the legs toward each other. And then let's take that right leg straighter. Looking into one of your first hamstring stretches here. Just going a little easy maybe to begin. Settling in. Breathing into it. Bending back into the knee. Shift the hips forward, sink them low, lifting the chest. Let's get a twist here. So bring the right hand to the hip and rotate around belly, side ribs, and shoulder. Releasing that twist, let's go ahead and take the leg straight again. Making a little bit more intense if and when you need. So you could even lift the back knee up off the floor, flex your foot here, press that heel down, pull it back toward the body. All of those little subtle movements that make it a little more or less challenging. Bending back into the knee, sinking low. Leave the hips nice and low and climb up on the thigh. Watch that the hips don't back up. Keep sinking, sinking, sinking. But then lifting the upper body. Coming away from the leg here. The hands can stay down, they can lift up. You can interlace them behind your back. Again, know where your body needs to be this morning. Let's go ahead and release it. Make your way back into the lunge and down dog. So when you're ready, we're going to move to the second side. Go ahead and lift your left leg. And then we're going to step that foot through to the hands. And again, just adjusting, dropping the back knee, wiggling the toes, wiggling your hips. And remember that sometimes a pose starts in one place, but after you've been there a breath or two, it can change. Let's sweep the legs toward each other. Take the left leg straight. Again, you're just finding your stretch, keeping the shoulders together on the back. Remember not to round your spine. Let's bend back into the knee. Let the hips descend. Keep the lower body really centered here. We're going to add in our twist, left hand to the hip, rotating around. And then we're going to release the twist. Take the left leg straight again. Remember to add in the things that make it a challenge, whether that's the knee lifting up off the mat, the foot flexing. Maybe the leg is just finely straight or your fold is deeper. And then we'll take the leg and bend into the knee again. Keeping the lower body stable here as well. Hips nice and low. Climb up. Begin to lift the upper body. Find where the stretch needs to be. Maybe you want that little bit of a back bend. Maybe it's more into your hips that you want to get. Take another big breath wherever you are. And then we're going to release all of that. Making our way back to that down dog. Wiggling around a little bit here. And then let's drop on down to the knees. Take child's pose again. And just let your brain kind of marinate on that. If it were up to you, where would you go next? What does your body need? Hips, shoulders, twist, upside down. We're going to move back into down dog. If your body needs something else, go there. And from down dog into plank. We're going to work with our planks here for a moment, keeping the body nice and strong. So the belly is engaged, so we're not saggy in the middle. The shoulders are working so that they're neutral on the back. Press through your heels, even make your legs do a little bit of work. And then back to down dog again. So a little bit of flow this time. Inhale, shift forward into plank. And exhale back into your down dog. So forward and back like that. Keeping the muscles engaged so that we don't go beyond neutral. Protecting the shoulders and the lower back. One more time, forward and back. And dropping down to the knees. Go ahead and give yourself a little rest. Back to down dog. Let's walk the feet forward, come into standing fold. Walk in place or whatever feels good here. Placing the feet hip bone distance apart. Toes point forward. Feel nice and even on your feet. Taking the legs straight, go ahead and slide your hands to the thighs. And we're going to come halfway up. So parallel-ish to the floor. This might be your full fold. So again, the feet are underneath the hip bones. The hips are not sinking back, right? Trying to keep the legs straight. Support on the legs if you need. Shoulders back. Sometimes elbows out keeps the shoulders back. See if that works. From here, we're going to go ahead and bend into the knees and sit into chair. Lean on the thighs here if you need to. So it's not as important to be deep if it just collapses this, right? So keep the upper body lifting away from the thighs here. And maybe you're a little higher. Maybe your knees don't bend as much. Find where that is for you. Hang on, come center, extend the arms wherever they need to be as well. What happens here? What do you feel most? I'm going to take one more big breath. On an inhale, stretch to the ceiling. And then exhale, release the arms. So let's take a little bit of a standing back bend here. Feet are going to stay exactly where you placed them. The belly's engaged. You decide if you need a little support with the hands on the lower back, give it some support. If you want to interlace, take the arms under cactus, extend the arms overhead. Remember, you decide, and you can always change your mind as you're moving, right? So pressing down into the feet, little tuck of the tailbone, lifting the chest up, pulling the shoulders together on the back. So the arms don't even have to do anything, right? Keeping the chin tucked in. And then modifying as you need. Change your arms. See if it changes something. Do you need to stretch in your shoulders more? Right? Take another big breath. On an inhale, making your way back up to the top, releasing it all. So hang on to your thighs here. Come over into that half fold again. Pause for just a moment. Lean as much as you need to lean. Come all the way over into your fold. And bring your feet together. Hug in. So squeeze your feet together, squeeze your calves together, squeeze your thighs together, right? Even if they don't touch. You're lucky enough to have them not touch. Squeeze your legs like crazy. And then bring your hands back up, come into that half fold again. Feels different, right? So keep squeezing, bend into the knees and sit into your chair here. Squeeze like crazy. Make sure your belly's in, supporting your lower back. So chair, right? You can keep it simple or you can twist. So maybe just the right hand to the outside of the left knee and the left hand to the hip. Lovely little twist, right? Or maybe we bring that right elbow to the outside of the knee. Wiggle in there a little bit and twist here. So watching that right knee, try not to let it pop forward. If you want to get all fancy, you can open your arms, but whatever. One more breath. Releasing the twist, come back to the fold. Let's go to that second side then. So set up just like before. Squeeze in, climb up, bend into the knees for chair. And then on in, right? Whether it's your little baby twist, right, or not. or it's your left elbow to the outside of the knee. Watching that the legs stay even. So keep squeezing. One more breath. Releasing it all. Let's go ahead and open the feet. Come back into your normal stance. And this time, go ahead and roll up through your spine, coming all the way to stand. All right. So let's go ahead and take those sun salutes. Surprisingly warm. It's cold again here this morning. It's very weird. All right, so at the top of the mat here, remember you can start easy, you can start wherever you want to go. We are adding on that little extra, so listen to your body. Let's inhale, stretch up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, step yourself back to plank. Drop down to the knees if you'd like. Take it all the way to the belly this time. Hands next to the side ribs, rolling into a little baby cobra here. Exhaling, keep the elbows in, up and back, down dog. Inhale, step forward, fold. Halfway up on the next inhale. Fold back over. Reach to the ceiling. Exhale, release. Again, like that. Inhaling up. Take it to fold. Halfway up. Back into plank. All the way down, that same exhalation if you can. Inhale as you roll into your cobra. Make it bigger if you're ready. Elbows in, up and back, down dog. Inhaling, step forward, fold. Halfway up. Folding. All the way up. And release. So one more just like that on your own. I'm going to be quiet. You're going to add the modifications. You want to switch something up, feel free. I can't see. Inhale, reaching up, and you are on your own. Go. We've got one more, and we'll add in with this one. So even if you didn't before, modify, skip it. On an inhale, let's sit into chair. And then exhaling to fold. Inhaling halfway up. And into plank. All the way down. Inhaling for your cobra or up dog if that's where you're going. Back to down dog. And inhale the right foot forward into a lunge. Toes all the way up there just like before. Back heel or knee to the mat, we reach. And then we exhale back down again into down dog. With an inhale, slide forward for plank. And exhale to the belly. Cobra. Down dog. Left foot steps forward. And lift. Coming back down. And into down dog. Inhaling forward, plank, the last one. Take it down. Into cobra. And back to down dog. Hold your down dog or visit in child's pose. This is one of those places that it's very easy to know what your body needs. If you're huffing and puffing, obviously you want a child's pose. We'll take another big breath. If you drop down, go ahead and lift back to your down dog. From down dog on an inhale, step forward. Inhaling halfway up and then back over. Into chair. And exhale, release it all. So even though that series is probably imprinted on your brain, if you've been practicing a minute, see if you can find the subtleties. Like sometimes after that last plank or whatever, your arms are just not having it, and up dog is not a thing. Right? Sometimes it's very obvious, and then other times it's just a little more subtle. We learn, right? We practice and we learn. Big step back with the left foot. Let's work in a warrior two here. So right toes are pointing forward and heel aligns to the instep. And if you find let's bend into the knee first. So we're looking for that right big toe beyond the knee. If you find your knee constantly collapses in, your hips are a little tighter. So the left toes might need to actually move forward or just turn forward. So watching that knee can tell you what's going on in the rest of your body. So when you're here, feel even on your feet. Let's go ahead and extend the arms parallel to the floor. Check that back arm. It's not always where you think it is. Where are you feeling this, and where can you or do you need to adjust? Nice big full breaths. We're going to take the right leg straight. Reach forward of the toes and hinge over into your triangle. So keeping the body open to the side as much as you can rather than rotating toward the floor. We're going to work with our balance next. So let's take that left hand out of the equation. Just bring it to the hip. We're going to bend back into the right knee and bring the right hand forward of the foot. You'll adjust it in a second. I'm going to move on it now, just so you guys can hop out of the picture. So this right hand is going to be a little fluid for a second. Try to stay open to the side as much as you can. Hop the back toes in, and then lift those toes away from the floor. Now, maybe the foot's hip height, and maybe that right leg is straight, and maybe not either of those things. You can always use a block here, but we still want the body to be open to the side. Think stacking your left shoulder on your right, stacking your left hip on your right. Bend back into the knee, step way back. Come back to warrior two. Releasing the arms, take the legs straight. Come into this little straddle for a second. Toes point forward. We'll bring the hands to the hips, come forward into a half fold. Keeping the hands on the hips, take yourself all the way over. Keep the hands on the hips or take them back to the thighs and come halfway up. Inhale all the way up. And we'll switch sides with those standing poses. So the right toes in a little bit, the left toes toward the back of the mat. Check out your feet. Make sure they're where you want them to be for now. When you bend into the knee, watch that big toe. And then adjust. closer, maybe a little further, toes in or out. Feeling even on your feet and extending the arms. Left leg straight. Reaching forward and hinging over. Lean if you must. Again, we're really trying to open the body to the side here. So maybe you're not so low. But here is better than here. Working into that balance pose again. Bring the right hand to the hip. Go ahead and bend into the left knee, bringing the hand forward. Hop in. When you're ready, lifting the toes. Find your balance and then see if you can open up a little bit more. Taking one more nice big breath. Bend back into the knee. Step way back for warrior two. And then take this leg straight. Relax your arms. Toes forward again. Hands to the hips. Come over into that half fold. And gently all the way over. Keeping the shoulders back. This time allow your hands to move toward the mat. We're going to take the hands flat to the floor. So if that means bending your knees, bend your knees. Shoulder width apart, fingers in line with the tips of the toes. Press down into your hands. So if you want your elbows bent or your arms straight, your knees are again bent or straight, depending on what it needs to be to get there. We want to press down into the floor as if they were your feet. See if you can take some of the body weight out of your feet into your hands. Notice if you squeeze your belly, what does that do? Does that change it? Take another big breath. Release the weight from the hands. We're going to walk the hands around to that right foot, lunge back to the top of your mat, and step back down dog. Dropping down to the knees. Bring yourself to child's pose. Let's slide out onto the belly. Oh, and then we're going to work with locust here. So not just a break, although it feels really good. So while you're here, remember to keep the pelvis pressing down into the floor. Lower back should feel long. If you start to feel pinched up, stop. Right? If you can start over and adjust and make it right, great. If it's just not for you, don't worry about it. So we're going to keep the lower half of the body on the floor for right now. Pressing down into the pelvis, press down into your toenails. Press your toenails into the floor. And the legs don't need to be touching, but you don't want them crazy wide either. Right in that middle space. So let's take the arms down by the sides. You can have them simply down by your sides. You can interlace the fingers behind the back here. If you really wanted to, you could extend the arms long alongside the ears. So working the muscles that create that back bend, curl your shoulders up by your ears, together on your back, roll them down toward your hip bones. The chest starts to lift. Yeah. Stretching the knuckles back toward the heels, extending out the crown of the head, keeping the neck in this nice neutral place. If you notice you rise and fall with your breath, that's a good thing. Let that happen. And then we're going to release that. So take the hands and make a little pillow for your head. Resting either your chin or your forehead on your pillow so your head stays neutral. You can give yourself a really good neck ache here if you don't. So staying here, the same thing with the pelvis though, really nice and neutral into the floor. Spread your toes, and instead of taking your toenails to the floor, using your hamstrings, lift the legs away from the mat. The legs are straight. Try not to just squeeze your butt. Right? Use those hamstrings. And then release them. Let's put that together. Take the arms back down by your sides and decide if you want to interlace or not. Keeping the pelvis neutral in that neutral position, so really lengthening the lower back. Curl the shoulders, stretch through the toes, hamstrings to the ceiling. Find length. You need to adjust. Let's release it. So that little pillow for your head, turn a cheek to the pillow this time. Turn your toes point toward each other and just gently rock back and forth on your hips, shaking out the muscles. From here, we're going to roll over onto the back. Too simple. So find a neutral position here. Release the back muscles into the floor. You got one more back bend before we really kind of chill out. So using bridge. If you want to make this less work, grab a block. And you can actually do all kinds of fun things with this block in your bridge as well. So if it sounds like fun, between the legs, squeezing your legs together is probably my least favorite thing. But so we're going to give it a go either way. Feet in line with the knees and hips. And you can't see them, but hopefully you can feel them. If they're touching each other, they're too close. So from here, arms down tight, by the sides of the body. If bending your elbows makes sense for you, certainly feel free to use that. Okay? So we're going to press down into the triceps, pull the heels toward the hips to lift the hips off the floor. And you can adjust here, interlacing the fingers like we did in our locust. Or not, just pressing the arms down into the mat. Keeping the tailbone tucked toward the knees. The back of the neck is nice and long. That lower back is nice and long. And again, to make it a bit more restful, you can slide the block underneath the sacrum. And even though this is not as much work, you might be able to really kind of open up your back bend with it. If you stood it up really tall or taller than you normally are able to go, right, then you sort of get to release into it. So just kind of play with it and go where you need to go. We're going to take one more breath, whether you're working or not so much. And then we're going to release it all back to the mat. So even when you're in the same pose, there's a lot of different ways to modify, make it yours. Let's draw the knees into the chest. We're going to rock a little bit. We'll take those feet flat to the floor. Crossing the left ankle over the right knee. And then reach back behind the right thigh here, interlacing your fingers.
Try and keep the shoulders down and the hips in this neutral position. And then see if you can draw that right leg in towards your chest. The more you press your left leg away, the sensation changes, obviously. The idea is to try and keep this thigh neutral, though. So if you find your butt rolling up, right, or your shoulders coming in toward your chest, maybe don't pull the leg in quite so far. So see if you can find that middle. Keep the arms pulling toward the body. And if you kick the leg back into the hands, that helps neutralize your spine back to the mat. Use that if it works for you. And then we're going to release that side. Taking both feet flat to the floor. Switching, crossing the right over the left. Same exact idea over here. Modify it. That little bit of push against the pull. And then release it. So finding that neutral position for your spine again, if you got a little out of whack, let's go ahead and open the arms out into a T position here. We're going to shift the hips to the left and drop the knees to the right. And of course, if you need a different variation of this last twist, feel free to modify, even within where we're going or not. Right? So relaxing into it. Remaining here if you'd like. Or adding on and making it a little bit more challenging by either taking just the left leg straight, fingers, toes toward the fingers, or both legs maybe. And maybe you don't quite touch your fingers, maybe the legs don't quite come to the floor. Try and relax into it. Or see if you can make it a little bit more even, right? So imagine pressing through the left heel or the left knee if your knees are still bent. Can you feel that left hip kind of stack a little bit more on top of the right? Still might not be perfect. Don't worry about that. We're going to take one more breath over on this side here. And then release it all, making your way back to the middle. Take your time in and out. So same idea on the second side, shifting the hips right, taking the knees left. And then again, adjusting. And maybe this final twist isn't the variation you want, you need to go somewhere else. Feel free. And remember, you stay here and relax, or you can stay here with the knees bent and work into it, right? Or taking your legs straight if and when you're ready for that. One leg or two. And then the same idea here, working into it a little bit more by pressing through the left heel. No, that's your right heel. Or your right knee, remember. Or just saying nah and resting into it. Taking another nice big breath over on this side. And then bringing it back in, coming back to center. Again, here, finding that neutral spine and bringing the knees into the chest. Let yourself rock. Squeeze those knees in good and tight. Pull your forehead toward the knees. Release it out into a full body stretch. And then release your stretch. Where does your body want to be for Shavasana? This might be one that you think about more than others. But there's a million variations. Sorry, maybe not a million. But there's many variations. And you allow it to be what you need it to be, what your body needs, what your mind needs. And when you find it, let go. Releasing the muscles and the breath. Allowing yourself just a few minutes to absorb your practice. Reset the body. Keeping that calm, peaceful mind.
Slowly draw in a deep, cleansing breath and then let that go. Allow your fingers and toes to wiggle, moving and stretching through your arms and your legs. Maybe taking another full body stretch if that sounds good. Bringing the feet flat to the floor. Moving gently to your side. And slowly pressing up to seated. Sitting well. And bringing the palms to touch. Bowing to the light within. Namaste. Made it. So I was here to guide you through that, and I hope you took the little side streets, right, on a few poses at least. And the challenge or the invitation, right, is to get on your mat, maybe one day this week, maybe it's not till next week or next month even, right? But just get on your mat and go where your body takes you. Don't necessarily have a destination, right? Just get on your mat and see what happens, even if it's for 10 minutes. You can do it. All right, y'all. I will see you next week. I'm contemplating, well, I'm going to be in the Bradenton area 2 weeks from now, so I won't be here, but I am contemplating finding a class there and seeing if I can grab it. So maybe I can see some of you guys. So let me know if there's someplace good where you're practicing. If there's someplace good, where there's someplace good. So, all right, y'all have a great weekend. Happy Easter and Passover for those of you who celebrate, and I will see you next week here. Bye.